Hello everyone, ladies, gentlemen, and otaku alike, this is Recall Reviews. Recall here again, I recall it for you. Now, I had a lot of fun doing Retro Month and the movie summary format that I was doing, so I'm going to keep with that for a while. So, to save on some time, let's get right into possibly one of the worst pieces of schlock I have ever seen. Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, the motion picture. Our movie kicks off with our main protagonist Shiro walking home with the pretty much non-existent future yandere when she notices something's amiss.
Your hand is bleeding!
Huh? You're right, I must have cut it cleaning up somehow.
Now that it's never brought up or addressed at all at any future point in this movie, and with that said, Sakura pretty much exists as a non-entity for the remainder of this film. This leads us right into a scene where Rin is doing the servant summoning ceremony.
I call upon you, the seven heavens, protectors of the great spirit trinity. Keeper of the balance, come forth!
Now, before going on any further, I'd like to address one of the elephants in the room that will creep up every so often in this movie, and believe me, they're very close in between. I'm actually a big fan of Mila Lee's performance as Rin, and when it was announced that she would be reprising her role for the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works TV series, I was very happy. A lot of people have an issue with her in the Magical Girl Ilya show. They gave Sentai shit for recasting Rin and wanted Mela Lee back, and then when she was recast as Rin in Blade Works, they gave them shit about that. So make up your minds, people. Do you like her or not? I personally think that she has a great tsundere voice, and just her whole tone of voice works with Rin in general. Definitely much better than it did with Yuki in Vampire Night, and oh, that's a project for another day. Anyway, and of course we all know that Rin was trying to summon Saber, but because of a difference in time, that was supposed to happen at 2 a.m., she ended up at 1 a.m. because of plot point by her father, which isn't addressed at all in this movie. She makes the ceremony at 1 a.m. and ends up summoning Archer. That being said, you're going to realize a lot of details in this movie have most definitely been left out. So we get the baseline intro that we've seen in every Fate series, almost uncountable, though realistically about 3 or 4 times now with the anime out. Lancer spots Shiro, Lancer kills Shiro, and Rin saves Shiro. Though, in the movie, it's not really sure why. I mean, I didn't really do much editing here, and it just kind of jumps to Rin saving him, where in the anime it's established that she's had feelings for him longer, but, you know, fuck it, I'm just gonna stop right there, because there is no point in comparing the anime to the show, as the anime is vastly superior, so let's just stick with what we have. Either way, this leads once again into Shiro accidentally summoning Saber somehow, and Saber kicks ass. The end. No, not really, but who can blame anyone for making that assumption given the movie that it's in and how little story and how little explanation that they do. I mean, where most movies are supposed to exposit some information, we only get this scene here where Kyrie is telling Shiro about the Grail War. We then have Rin explaining to Shiro how they're enemies now, and then that's where possibly the best thing in the movie comes in.
What are you doing? Never give your enemy time to prepare.
Yes, thank you, Lord, the prayers have been answered. Possibly the coolest fucking thing in this entire movie, or I'll say it now, the entire Fate franchise as is. Liam O'Brien as Archer. Not only one of my favorite voice actors, but one of my favorite characters, and he just does such an cool job as Archer. That being said, I was so deeply disappointed when I heard Kaji Tang, the guy who voiced Fang in Fairy Fencer F. Yeah, that was the new Archer. Granted, I have heard him in the role, and he does do a good job, but he's certainly no Liam. But the good thing is he's not trying to be. He's bringing his own rendition of the character to the table while not dishonoring the Archer of yesteryear. After the magic that is Liam O'Brien's voice leaves the screen, we have a scene where we meet Ilya and Berserker, who we all know as Hercules, for the first time. And of course, we get a fight sequence.
Her sword, it's invisible.
Also, just to point out that Sam Riley as Shiro reprising his role from the Fate Stay Night anime, which is also adapted by Sentai Filmworks, much like this movie, who was recast with Bryce Pempenbrook in the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works TV. That being said, honestly, the fights in this movie are really impressive and are done so well. That being said, if this movie didn't have those, it wouldn't have much of anything at all. I know I've gone on about how there's barely any story, but you just can't get over that. It's like you're watching Expendables, but Expendables had more of a story than this. One of the few good things about this movie draws to a close when Archer launches a nuclear arrow into the middle of the cemetery. This leads us into our next scene.
I need to know more about you. Like which hero of legend you actually are. So, what's your real name? Has it come to you yet?
No, unfortunately. Not yet. I'm afraid that my memory still fails me. Shall I tell you why that is? It's a result of your poor summoning skills.
Next off, we have the introduction of possibly the most shafted character in all of Fate. No, I am not talking about you, Lancer, my friend. No, I am talking about Ryder. The anime nor the movie make it a point to tell you that Ryder's real identity is Medusa. It's just a conclusion that you can get to based on the assumption with the whole visor and keeping, her eyes away from her enemy. That being said, you have to figure by this point in the film, Shiro must be sick of blades as he's been stabbed, cut, hung by chains and knives. After a couple actually pretty impressive fight sequences, you find out that Ryder was dispatched about as quick as she came onto the scene by an unknown force, and it's actually a pretty graphic looking death as far as they go, at least in this movie. After Castor joins the fray, we have some cool action scenes, and then Archer decides to be an asshole, become a villain, and strike Shiro down from behind. Castor then holds hostage Taiga Fujiwara, the landlord's daughter in Shiro's apartment complex, who's a teacher at his school, but a middle school teacher in Magical Girl Ilya. I don't know how that works out. That being said, Saber gets stabbed by insert magical tool here, corrupted and turned against Shiro, or his command seal stolen, which is, they don't explain it in this, really, but this is Castor's special ability. This is her noble phantasm, the rule break technique. We then find Castor kidnap Saber, put her in a white dress, and you find out that she's being held in, well, Kirei's underground church dungeon. Kirei's underground church dungeon. Enough of that. Archer has Castor use the rule break and have his command seals transferred from Rin to him. Shiro can spontaneously and unexplainedly spawn swords, Archer's iconic swords, mind you. They don't explain this, he just can. The movie then decides to slow down and we share a soft scene between Rin and Shiro, their, sad talk stuff, which in any other movie with any other characters, I would not give a shit. The only reason why I cared watching this was because it's Rin and Shiro, two characters I actually give a damn about. That being said, Shiro is returning the necklace that was left with him when Rin saved his life in the beginning of the movie, only to find out that Archer, who you see previously, gives Rin the same necklace, saying that he picked it up when she saved Shiro. Get it? Have you put it together yet? Shiro and Rin go to Ilya for help, only to find that Gilgamesh strikes down Berserk, and Gilgamesh just kinda comes right the fuck out of nowhere, and then Gilgamesh goes to kill Ilya by tearing her heart out of her chest. Yeah, kinda fucked up. Of course, the villains choose to let Shiro and Rin go because whoever's commanding them wants them alive for Grandmaster Plan. The movie then chooses to slow down again, and Rin addresses the elephant in the room. She confronts Shiro on his insanity when it comes to protecting people and the reasons behind that. It's a very weak reason as far as the movie goes, but making one final comparison to the anime, you are told it's a psychological disorder that he got living with Emiya. That being said, Shiro gives Rin the whole backstory about how he was the last surviving person in the dead city that burned 10 years ago that the beginning of the movie also addressed. The following reaction to that is actually a pretty heavy scene, just something when you actually see Rin break down and cry over how Shiro's carrying himself and his total lack of self-preservation. It's just one of those moments where a mega tsundere just lets down all of her guards out of the sheer love that she feels for someone. That being said, I'm reading far too deep in a movie that you shouldn't. I'll save this for when I choose to take on the anime itself. That being said, we have our next scene. Archer then confronts Shiro, Saber, and Rin after saving them and killing Castor, only to find out that, yeah, he's still an asshole and wants to kill Shiro. Though, if by this point in the movie, if you're watching this, you still haven't put together who those two are, I'll just have to tell you straight up at the end. That being said, Archer quickly dispatches Saber, Rin forms a contract with Saber, and the ending of the movie begins. Archer then kidnapped Rin, Lancer saves Rin, and Archer and Shiro engage in their final battle. Of course, Shiro wins. No, of course the movie can't end there. There's still another half an hour left in this shit stain. They haven't dealt with Gilgamesh yet. So we have this scene where Rin transfers mana to Shiro to awaken the rest of his power. Did I forget to mention this is based on an H game? Rin and Saber are busy dismantling the Holy Grail that Gilgamesh created. By the way, he can do that now, while Archer confronts Gilgamesh in the final battle where, of course, you guessed it, Shiro strikes down Gilgamesh with Archer's swords. Which, again, just to reiterate, Archer and Shiro are one and the same. Archer is Shiro in the future. And then we have possibly the creepiest scene in all of Fate.
You've answered everything I need to know. Don't worry about me, Rin. You have my word. I won't disappoint you.
See? Fucking creepy! All they did was Photoshop Shiro's head on Archer's body with white hair. They did nothing else. It doesn't even look like a good Photoshop. Once again, I promise, final comparison to the anime. This scene was executed so much better in the anime. Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, the motion picture, is most definitely one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever covered on this channel. That being said, it's not totally unwatchable. The animation, art style, fight choreography is absolutely gorgeous and jaw-droppingly amazing. The musical score goes very well with the animation and works very well. The narrative is poorly done, the writing is atrocious, and there are several plot holes left unexplained because, well, lack of a story. That being said, this movie was so jarring I actually don't really have anything for next week. That being said, check out the Dissidents. They're an awesome band that have me editing their videos. Tune in next time.